All right, this week on the show, we're going to be fearlessly questioning your sense of humor, and we're going to be doing it with Google Plus super authority expert Martin Shervington, who in his spare time is a comedian, I guess you could say. He has actually performed stand-up. He's gone to comedy school, and I know it's something that he is very passionate about, and he, you know, doesn't work it in as much as I think he probably could to his overall kind of personality online. But I think he's the perfect person to talk about this with. And if you've watched or listened to any of the previous episodes, you know that I enjoy a good joke every now and then. I like to keep things a little bit light, and not always so serious. And one of the people that are really big on this, and I guess he might have been a good choice to have on the show, but he's a little out of my league right now. So if anybody wants to help me get him on the show, feel free. But James Altucher is huge on the whole comedy thing and how it can really help you in business, and how it can actually kind of, he actually listens to stand-up before he does any presentations. He'll actually listen to Louis C.K. stand-up before he goes on and gives a talk or things like that. And I've actually tried it before a couple of shows, and I think it actually works. He wants to channel the rhythm and the kind of the tone, and how comedians are able to create this kind of thing. Like getting up there and creating these stories and telling these stories and creating this rhythm. And it's really about rhythm and timing. That's what he kind of wants to kind of get from channeling that before he gives a talk, and kind of get into the flow of that and get his head thinking in that direction. And why I wanted to bring Martin on is I just simply want to ask the question, are you afraid to be funny? And if you are, why? I think that is really the most interesting question that I can ask you, and I'm interested to know your answer. So feel free, reach out to me, Joey at fearlesslyquestioning.com. Feel free to let me know, and I would like to know your answer, because so many people, especially in the industry that I work in, during the day, the 9 to 5 is the insurance industry, and it's so it has the stigma or the stereotype of being dry and dull and boring, and for the most part it is. But the people that actually sell it are not by any means, and they're just afraid to present that personality to you online. Now, if you go and meet with them in their office, for the most part, they're going to be pretty engaging and funny and interesting people. And that hasn't translated into their presentation of themselves online. And I would say that that's true for a lot of, if not most, businesses, to where they are afraid to kind of show this side of them. And I don't know, maybe you've met these people in person. Maybe that's your neighbor or a friend or something. But it's almost as if somebody is afraid to be funny, or it's like the thought has never crossed their mind to try and say anything that would make you laugh or that's even interesting. I like to call these people the equivalent of wallpaper. They are the human equivalent of wallpaper, and it's just because wallpaper is pretty much the most boring, dull thing, and it's a pain to take off, and it's just not fun to be around. And that's somebody who is not really, all that interested in being funny. And even, I guess, to a lesser extent, they don't even laugh at, jokes all that often or freely. And it's just this whole idea of using this secret weapon. And I think this is probably one of the most dangerous secret weapons you could potentially or possibly acquire. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I wanted to get your mind thinking about this and how you could, kind of start to ease this in. Now, I don't know, maybe this is just me and my personal interest, and maybe this is something that just comes natural to me. But when you meet somebody that's funny and they're constantly making you laugh, you're feeling good about yourself. It's an entertaining time. It doesn't really matter what they do, but if it's that new friend or somebody, you generally want to talk to them again because they're funny, and they make things interesting. And so when somebody is entertaining like that, and you can capture their attention, they're gonna be a little more receptive to what you have to say. They're gonna listen to your advice, and they're actually gonna again want to come back to you. And if those aren't 3 characteristics that you want in a business, I don't know what characteristics you could possibly ask for. The idea of not trying to do that is just really, really crazy to me. And I don't have many jokes to toss around today. I didn't sit and write, jokes. Maybe I should have, but if you listen to the shows, it's just I like to kind of keep things loose when because the show's called Fearlessly Questioning, and we do want to get serious about things, but at the same time, you got to keep it interesting. You got to keep it a little bit light, and it can't be this like the weight of the world. We're just there's such big topics. It's not interesting, and you would. I would hate myself. It would just, in those scenarios, so you got to keep it light. And that's why, I will come back with a kind of a sarcastic, witty quip at times from something a guest has said. And, I like to keep the shows light. And even in these little talks that we have one-on-one, I'll work in something that is a little humorous every now and then if it presents itself. I don't force it. And I think that's the thing is understanding when you're forcing it and when it just kind of comes natural. And again, getting into that rhythm and that flow and understanding how to actually use this to leverage in your business, because again, it's an attractive quality that people want to be around and want to be a part of, and will ultimately help you communicate your message more effectively. And that's all we're ultimately doing in any aspect, whether it's business or life. It's the more effective you are in communicating to the people that you're trying to communicate, the better your life is going to be all the way around. And you're simply going to get the things that you're striving for, that you're achieving. And it might seem simple. But getting that laugh is probably one of the more effective things that you can do. And I think it's that fear. Why we're talking about this is it is a very terrifying thing to say something that you think is going to be funny and then not have anybody laugh. That's probably the worst feeling in the world. That's why I guess it probably prevents a lot of people from actually trying, because you don't want somebody to not laugh at your joke. It's, what a stand-up comedian goes up on stage and bombs and nobody laughs. It's probably one of the worst experiences you could ever have. And, it's going to happen. You're never going to be funny 100% of the time, but just opening yourself to the idea that this is something that could really work in your favor. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, I've never been funny. I've never been somebody that has been able to make people laugh. And, maybe that's fine. I would challenge you and to say that, well, I bet you we could find something funny in you if we really, really tried. But you got to play to your strengths and kind of know what, you're capable of. It doesn't have to be tons all the time. It doesn't have to be constantly making jokes. It just could be one or two things every now and then that you slip in. And you would be surprised if you work in any type of sales, a sales position, you have kind of the same conversation on a regular basis. So that means once you kind of have one or two jokes that kind of make people laugh, again, I deal with health insurance. Right now it's open enrollment season, and I'm constantly on the phone having conversations with people telling them they have to pay more for the exact same thing that they already have. Do you think that's a fun conversation to have? No. I definitely would rather stick a spoon in my eye than tell these people the things that I have to tell them. And making them laugh is one of the easiest ways to kind of diffuse that situation. And you got to know when, obviously, the appropriate time is and when it's not. But you will know that you will notice patterns, and you will notice that you're saying the same thing over and over again. And you will notice that you can kind of insert a framework of a particular joke or something like that to where you can make that same joke over and over again, and it's going to work. And that's the interesting thing that I found, is that I can say the same thing over and over again, and you're talking to different people, and they're going to laugh. And it's not like you have to keep constantly coming up with new stuff to try and make people laugh. It's just have one or two things that during this conversation it's probably going to come up, and you can work it in. It's pretty interesting. And the reception, again, is, people will actually look forward and they will say to you, well, I enjoyed talking to you. It was great talking with you. Or, for, my work with insurance and the videos that I do, people will call me and say, well, boy, I really enjoyed watching your videos. It was funny, it was entertaining, and I actually had a good time watching them, and I learned a lot. And I think that's your goal. You need to entertain people long enough to be able to educate them to the message that you're trying to get across to them. And, that is so important with where we are moving to in today with the whole content marketing and, kind of telling your story and demonstrating your expertise. Is you need to do that, but you need to do it in a way that is interesting, because nobody's going to come back if you are the most boring person on the face of the earth. If you are wallpaper, nobody is going to come back. So we're going to try and teach you how to not be a piece of wallpaper, and that is our goal for this show coming up with Martin Shervington. So hope you join us. We'll be back live with Martin for the full conversation. That's going to be Thursday, December 4th, of course, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, our regularly scheduled programming. And we will hope to see you there. Of course, if you are enjoying these fearless questions, if you are enjoying what we do, we would really appreciate if you could get on over in iTunes or Stitcher and just go ahead and leave us a review. That would be fantastic. Below this, if you're on the site, if you're actually listening to and watching this on the site, the URL to get here would be fearlesslyquestioning.com/21-1. That's 21-1. That's going to get you to this episode, and there will be links below to click on over to iTunes and subscribe. If you're actually on the site listening or watching right now, you can just click right below the video or the podcast, and you could just subscribe right in iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a review. We had Jay Baer on 2 shows ago, and he talked about the importance of what it does and his whole marketing podcast adventure and the importance of reviews and how that actually helps the show and really helps us and any podcast that you like kind of stay alive. It gets it in front of the right people, and it helps the audience grow to where the show can actually sustain itself. So feel free, if you're at all interested, if you all enjoy what we're doing and you want to hear more fearless questions, well, please go ahead and just shoot us a review, a rating over in iTunes and or Stitcher. Would greatly appreciate that. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm Joey Giangola. Take it easy, everyone.